You are about to enter the world of unbelievable robots that is so mind-blowing. You won't believe that they actually exist until you see them slither, stick to the wall, and clean up a bedroom. So we're going to be covering a wide range of actuator conglomerates, like a ninja warrior robot named AcroMonk that swings and flips with the agility of a gymnast, all the way to a mini octopus looking robot that miraculously unfolds like a ship in a bottle, but in your brain. So have you ever seen a bird just smoothly sailing through the sky? Well, now there's a new drone that channels that bird-like movement. It's called Morpho, and it's like the Swiss Army knife of drones. Its wings actually shift based on the wind conditions, and that helps it use more energy and stay airborne longer. It's also totally decked out with like sensors and cameras everywhere, making it a whiz for inspections on large buildings or even indoors. But here's where it gets really interesting. Morpho can actually transform on the go. So when it's sitting on the ground, it looks like a little tiny rocket. But once it's airborne, it's all action. What's cool is it can take off vertically in a tight space, but then get close to the piece of equipment that it wants to inspect. And from that position, those wings allow it to zip horizontally around. And of course, like we saw before, windy conditions, no problem. Morpho just tweaks its wings to stay on course. And sometimes it'll even catch a glide on the right breeze. So now let's talk about NASA's new snake-like robot, which is defying the space exploration limits. So NASA now has this new $32 billion project to help people get over snakes. Just kidding, it's to explore the unknown. And to fulfill that mission, they're doing something that's like straight out of a sci-fi movie. They're developing this crazy snake-like robot named EELS, Exobiology Extant Life Surveyor. So imagine this slithery little thing just exploring the icy mountains of Saturn or the rocky terrains of Mars. So the team over at NASA's JPL has been testing EELS in many different terrains, like sandy, snowy, and even icy environments, and some that look just like Mars here on Earth. And because taking a robot into deep space takes so much time and money, they're designing EELS with a lot of artificial intelligence so it can make decisions on its own. So just on its own, it can sense its surroundings and figure out how risky a maneuver might be. It even makes some of its own decisions about what kind of data it wants to collect and send to us. Now let's talk about the UC breakthrough in the game-changing RC cars of the future. Some clever folks over at UC Berkeley just came up with a foundation model for some cool little zippy RC cars. This software is the equivalent of training wheels, but for autonomous Hot Wheels. So they used this model to teach a tiny little robot race car how to zip around the track all by itself. And get this, it only took 20 minutes to get it up to human speed. Now the foundation model arms the robot with fundamental skills like don't crash into things, which means that by the time it's actually on the track, it has a pretty good sense of things that it can do. But this robot isn't just cruising, it's racing. It calculates the quickest path and it learns to keep a lot of speed around a tight bend. It even starts to master the different surfaces at different parts on the course. And if it gets stuck, it's got a built-in feature to reset itself, reorient itself, and zip along again. So this little car and this foundation model are definitely on the fast track. So now let's talk about TidyBot, refining cleanliness with a 91.2% accuracy. So have you ever wished for a robot helper to help you with the messy parts of your day? Picture this, a robot named TidyBot, and it's going around your room putting everything away for you, picking up random items from the floor and taking them to where they belong. Well, thanks to OpenAI's GPT AI model, written commands like yellow shirt goes in the drawer is converted to actions. And the researchers behind this put TidyBot to the test with 24 different scenarios across 4 different rooms. They even challenged it with completely unseen objects, and it got it right 91.2% of the time. And what's more exciting is that TidyBot's been tested in real-life situations and nailed it by getting 85% of the items where they correctly belong. So TidyBot is like the perfect companion for a slob like me. Now let's talk about Gecko-like robotics and how there's a revolution in wall-climbing bots. Have you heard about Gecko Robotics' newest invention? They've created these amazing wall-climbing robots that inspect industrial equipment. You know, like those big white tanks that you always see from airplanes and like I have no idea what's in them. Like is it gas or water? Like what's the point? Why is it out in the middle of nowhere?
Thought it was a water truck.
But before these robots, it used to take a whopping 45 days for somebody to inspect an individual tank. Now, with this Gecko robot, it only takes 4 days. And that's a big deal because it means production can move faster, it doesn't put people at risk when they're climbing all those ladders. Plus, from a business point of view, they can now spend half the cost and check them twice as much, meaning that they last a lot longer. Now let's talk about DJI is growing up. Those drones have gone from toys to tools. So DJI drones have come a long way from back when they were just like fun toys to play with. Now they've become essential equipment in many different industries. And there's been a lot of advancements on the software and hardware side, making them more autonomous, understanding the data they collect better. But this new drone in a box solution for an industrial purpose is actually really interesting to me because it means that you can drop these along the line, like something like a power line or a police force or someone that wants to understand a big, broad section of society.
Hey everyone.
So in this case, these Chinese workers have to inspect this power line very frequently, and it's in a part of China that's very cold. But with these DJI docks that are actually placed along the power line, they can easily do a remote inspection from anywhere along the line from one headquarters. Like imagine in the future if a police department deploys these all along a city, and if there's a robbery or a problem, then you don't have to wait for a police car to show up. The drone just takes off and starts filming. It could follow a bad guy, help police like zone in on where they actually need to be, and of course like monitor us all the time so we don't have any freedom. Say hello to AInstein. This is a robot that brings Einstein's genius to life. So if you're one of those people that thought you needed like millions of dollars and teams of PhDs to build a robot, check out what these 16-year-olds built. This nifty robot is named AInstein, and it's just about as small as a tall adult. Plus, this robot's like a chatty Cathy. It talks to the kids all day long, and it can even crack jokes like a math teacher. And the kids designed the face on the screen to have a whole bunch of human-like expressions. And it even laughs at its own jokes when it says things like, "Why is the math book sad?" Because it had a lot of problems. Boom, boom. Now, the main brain behind Einstein is this 16-year-old kid named Richard. So he thinks that the robot and the kind of artificial intelligence that made Einstein is gonna be pretty awesome for humans. And he picked the name Einstein because he wanted the robot to be able to explain a lot of complicated stuff really well, just like Albert Einstein. Get ready to unleash your inner ninja warrior. I'm about to show you AcroMonk, the incredible swinging robot. Okay, so I love watching the American Ninja Warrior. I secretly wish I was one, but I just can't. So when I saw this affordable little robot called AcroMonk could swing, or brachiate, as it's technically termed in robots like technical terms, what makes AcroMonk special is its simplicity in the way that it can brachiate. Built with just one motor and a passive gripper, meaning just a hook that's just a hook. They made the first ever robot that can do more than 2 swings. Now, American Ninja Warrior celebrates the incredible capabilities of the human body and spirit. Then they wrap it all up in an inspiring story, just like Acrobot. Look at that strength and that agility and the endurance. Oh, fell in the water. That's what happens, man. It's a risk. Well, hopefully he'll get a few updates and be back for next season. Now I want you to meet this like tiny little octopus-shaped soft robot. So if you've been pondering, what kind of robot could I build that could unfurl inside of my brain? It's a mini octopus soft robot looking thing.
Well, duh.
So sometimes doctors need to look at the brain.
Duh.
It often can involve swelling and scarring and, you know, it's your brain.
Woogie, woogie, woogie.
So this new little soft robot was meant to fold up and fit through an incredibly small hole in the skull. And they tested it on a pig, and it worked. And they watched it expand like a ship in a bottle to place quite a bit bigger 4-centimeter wide electric grid onto the brain. And they did that 4-centimeter width from just 1 millimeter hole. And they made it by attaching these gold electrodes to it and then wrapping it up so that it unfolds when a special water solution touches it, which can drip through the tiny hole. And it worked. Scientists were even able to pick up brain activity when they tickled the pig's snout. So who doesn't want their own 3D printed robot arm for home use? So imagine this, you're the mastermind behind your own 3D printed robot arm, and you might think it's just a pipe dream. You're wrong. It's now possible with the Arctos design files. For a mere $44, you can get the golden ticket to the blueprints. And there's a couple other things that you need, like the Arduino Mega 2560 control board, but even with those bits and bobs, your overall expense is out the door like less than $400. And for a crazy robot arm like that seems really cool. And it's got open source firmware, so you can really see how the robotic arm works and play with it. And it's got serious flexibility with a full 6 degrees of freedom. And this 3D printed robot arm can actually grab anything within reach, as long as it's under 500 grams. Smash that subscribe button!